Good evening. Welcome to the late starting Sneakerhead call-in show where we're going to be talking 49ers. I apologize for being late. I saw a lot of the comments. People were concerned. Rob's never this late, right? Something may be wrong. I just want to call out those that were here. Raphael 5629ers here early. Sneakerhead. What's up, Rob? Sneakerheads and everyone. Alan is in here. Alan is down below as well. Elvis is back in the building. Man, I didn't even have time to fill up my water cup. Eventually, I'm going to run out and it's going to be apparent. No, I was in the tattoo chair today and it went long. So I'm going to be delirious after 6 hours underneath the needle. That definitely can send you a little sideways there. Chris Royal coming in, Sneakerhead here on the channel. Glad to see you back, my guy. Glad to see you as well in the chat. Okay, we're getting into this because people have been waiting to talk. If you want to come in here and chat, the way in which you do that is you go to the community page of my community tab of my YouTube page and get the link from there if you are a Sneakerhead. I'll drop that in the chat once we get started. But first up, it has been a little while. Good to see you on the stream. Kim, how you doing today?
I'm good, Rob. How you doing?
You know, I'm a little frazzled, as you would expect, running into the house, realizing how late I was for the show, having just been in the chair for 6 hours. But I'm feeling good because we're talking Niners, and there's just nothing easier or better than that.
I already don't like getting, vaccinated for anything, no matter what. So I already don't like needles. And it's like going to the doctor, you're scheduled for like an 11 o'clock appointment. You're like, oh, yes, now it's 11:45 when he sees you. So it's like.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, hey, I agree. It is torture. You are essentially paying someone pretty good money per hour to torture you on a low level. But the artwork that comes out on the other side is gorgeous. So I think it's worth it. What is going on for you with regard to the 49ers? Where are you as far as excitement level going into camp? What are you really looking for?
So during, after the last season ended, I took a break because,
that's
the season
understandable.
Ended. I wanted to go do a few things. I need to hit the gym back up again.
Yeah.
Going about 3 times a week. Trying to bicycle when I can, do all those kind of fun things. But I'm up every season. I'm optimistic at the start of training camp.
Yes.
You never know what happens.
As you should be.
It could be worse. It could be like Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow is down for a few weeks with his leg injury. Or like the Dolphins, where Jalen Ramsey is more or less out for the season with a knee injury.
Right. And we are shell-shocked in that regard. We're always going to be waiting for it because we've had such bad luck. And injuries are just that small sample size where if you have 5 out of 7 years where you're experiencing pretty significant injuries, you're going to believe that that's the norm now, even though it's just reality, bad luck. Sometimes you can point to specific individuals you bring in that may be more injury prone than others. But man, I feel like it's reasonable for us to think about that going in. But I'm with you. I stay positive. This is the time of year where everyone has a chance at the Super Bowl. The 49ers a much better chance than most.
Yes, I think they have a very good, capable roster again. And we'll see where it goes. Hopefully, Kyle will actually stick with the starting quarterback and not play, I'm going to put a round peg in a square hole kind of thing.
Right.
Well, thank you to everybody who sends me compliments. I appreciate it. I don't expect to get them, but that's just how I am. So I just wanted Kyle to stick to a quarterback. Hey, if Trey somehow wins the job, in the preseason, stick with him. That's all I ask. I don't want to ask for anything else outside of that. Just stick to one quarterback and be consistent with it, even though, let's say, he is under 500 for a game, passing wise, but the team still wins. Take it and move on. As they say, it's hard to get wins in the NFL.
I'm going to go ahead and say that I feel Kyle is pretty committed to Brock Purdy, even though you're seeing, he's not like come out and said, yes, QB1 going forward, no question about it. But whenever he's asked about it at the state of the franchise, I thought that was very telling. He's like, I don't need to answer that question because it's on tape. And so very clearly he's talking about Brock Purdy when he says that what's on tape has not only informed him, Coach Shanahan, it's informed the players in the locker room. So I feel like he has committed in that case. Second string feels like he's hemming and hawing a bit. Are you okay with that? If Brock Purdy's number one, clearly in Shanahan's mind going forward, and he's committed to him, and it's just unclear behind that, are you okay with that scenario?
I'm fine with him saying, excuse me, Brock is my starting quarterback. When they give reps to who are going to be the backups, you can't give the backups equal set of reps. That's just I've never heard of that before.
Right.
Maybe it will work for Kyle. Who knows? I won't speak ill against it until something happens and he has to choose a backup quarterback. But
no,
usually I've never heard of that before.
Right. I mean, I will say one thing that Jack Hammer pointed out, I saw on Twitter, it's a small sample size. We're talking about just a couple of reps. So to worry about it at this point, and I even did, Brandon and I were having that conversation on Between Two Beards about the reps and how they were split evenly instead of favoring one over the other. I do think Jack's right about that. Like, I get excited because, hey, we've got real news. We've got real stats. Calm down, small sample size. We will see going forward. Someone will step up and claim that second position in the same way that Brock earned the spot he has right now by putting it on tape. I also want to give a shout out to the Stivers Niners 209 show, newest member of the channel. All right, let's hit this one. I want to get your opinion. NorCal Air Gunner, Sneakerhead here on the channel, coming in to ask me, when do we sign Bosa to a 5-year deal? I saw earlier a question about any news on the Bosa deal. Last I heard was the Mayoko podcast where he's talking about the fact that there's been no movement. He doesn't expect it in the next day or two, and that was just a couple of days ago. I expect it to get done relatively soon. I think the 49ers know that this has to be one of the biggest contracts, the biggest contract to go out to a defensive player, and I'm sure that Bosa's camp has a hard line, and I think they're just going to have to kind of meet it in this case, like the ridiculous contract you give out to Patrick Mahomes when you are potentially the best young star at that position, which I think you make the case for on Bosa. You just got to pay him. So, Ekim, when do you think that deal goes down? Does it happen before preseason game 1?
Usually it always happens before preseason game 1, as with this regime in charge.
Yeah.
At least that's been the experience. If it goes maybe before preseason game 2, fine. That's nothing to say about that. It's done. Move on.
Right.
So, some news that came out recently, Jonathan Taylor of the Colts has now requested a trade because I think the Colts said, you guys agreed and signed to the CBA. I mean,
right.
So he's not sure why the running backs are all hemming and hawing about why. I understand both sides. I'm not taking either side. I mean, I say this: if you remember the Bulls in the '90s when they won all those championships?
Most definitely.
Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf said, if you and your side, the player side, and their side agree to a contract, let's say a 3-year deal, $12 million, whatever, and you and I agree, don't come back at me and renegotiate this contract. You and I agree to these terms.
Yeah. That loses any steam with me when the team then goes and cuts that individual and doesn't pay them the rest of the contract. When you're talking about fully guaranteed contracts, I think that is a different situation. But it's wild to watch the running back position get devalued the way it has. A lot of these guys don't get a second contract of any note. And it's like, hey, I just blew out my knees or whatever the case may be, the wear and tear of a career in the NFL, especially a running back. And they don't have life-changing money to show for it. So I think it's something that has to get hammered out. But, Ekim, I'm going to have to let you go. Got to go to Alan next. Great to see you, man.
One last point.
Hit me.
I have changed my mind on Frank Gore, only because his longevity, to me, he's the last running back that's going to see 16 years in the NFL.
Hey.
So I do think he should be in the Hall of Fame because he did play great. I always thought it should be for the cream of the crop. But, for running backs nowadays, if they get 5 seasons in the NFL, that's an accomplishment. And Frank played 3 times more than that.
Yes, it is. It means something. Hey, great to see you, Kim.
Thank you, Rob.
Take care. All right, we are bringing in Alan to the stream. It has been too long. Alan, how you feeling about this season? Are you hopeful? Are there any areas that are bugging you? Where are you at with the Niners, man? And good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm I'm still like at the beginning stages. I want to see what we have with when we get to preseason. Especially between the number two, between the twos, between Lance and Sam.
Yes. Yeah, those are going to be the reps that really matter in game, under duress, with the defense coming down on you. I mean, that's where both of those players have something to prove when they have defenders in their face. I mean, both for different reasons. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I want to see too, because I think whichever one wins the number two, either the number three gets traded or Brandon Allen gets traded or dropped. One of the two.
Right. I mean, they may try and sneak him. I don't know if he has practice squad eligibility at this point, nor do I know if he would actually make it through waivers coming out of there. I just have a hard time believing, that Kyle is doing anything but bluffing when talking about 4 quarterbacks. I think it is either a trade or, like you said, a cut at the end of the roster.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And it's who knows? I want to see what Trey Lance can do because he has all this upside that we just haven't seen yet.
Yes, absolutely. All of the physical sort of accoutrements that you want on top of the ability to make the plays from the pocket. It's just we have to see that consistency of the second part because he does have all those physical gifts on top of it. I agree. I mean, there's so much to look forward to with that young gentleman. Feels like he's just scratched the surface.
Yeah, for sure. And Purdy, it's great to have him back and healthy. And
are you surprised about how quickly that happened?
I am, because I know Tommy John's surgeries usually take a year and a half or longer to come back for baseball players. So
right,
to do it in just 6 months, or even less than like 5 months, it's crazy.
It is very crazy. I mean, I thought, he'll be back by the start of the season by the language that we're hearing from John and Kyle. They just were very confident about the fact that it seemed like that Purdy was the guy. But to come back at this point and play in camp, that to me is surprising. And it does, in fact, make me optimistic. John Mack coming in. It wasn't Tommy John. I think that's a point of clarification around a modified Tommy John, right, where it was a brace that was put in instead of the full Tommy John procedure. But that is true. I heard, again, in the interview between Mayoko and Steve Young, mention of the fact that there was a doctor that had said, I would have done it differently. I would have done the full procedure instead of that partial that they did. Pete said it's all about the age.
It could be. Younger can heal faster than older. That's,
absolutely
well proven.
Absolutely.
And since last we spoke, I've changed my office around. I got some 49er pictures put up.
Hey.
Originally we weren't going to move into where we're living, and this year we're like, you know what? Who knows what the future holds? So let's make it home and make it feel like a home. So
I absolutely am on board with that. You got to feel good in your own space, man. And feeling good is an important thing, right? Making sure that you're in the right mental space. I know personally having my own challenges there that like, hey, home is important. Making sure that you have that place to feel, I don't know, safe.
Yeah, for sure. And just we've been dealing with a lot this year, and we're getting through it. And it's, I don't want to go into it, but it's been a rough year, to say the least.
Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you guys are getting through it, and I absolutely understand that state of going through things, right? The idea of, hey, this too shall pass. Whether it's good stuff, stuff that's indifferent, or bad stuff, tomorrow's going to be different than today was. And I don't know, that's what makes life special in and of itself. Also, what makes it very, very challenging at times and puts some shit on your plate that, man, sometimes it's hard to swallow. Sometimes it's rough. And then to me, the more of that crap that you have to put up with, when you get through it, it's almost a blessing, because then everything else, you can just appreciate it so much more. It's the difference between all the shit in your life and all the good things that can make you appreciate, put you in a state of gratitude. And for me, a state of gratitude is the only place to be, right? So I try to be thankful for even those low moments.
Yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you. You got to take the good with the bad. And, my dad always tells me live by the serenity prayer, just
Yes.
handle the things that we can handle, know the things that we can change, know the things we can't, and just keep moving day by day. And just that's all you can do is one moment at a time, one day at a time, one step at a time,
That's a
and,
fact.
and here in Texas, it's so hot. I can't even take the dog for a walk until like 9:30 at night.
Man.
Because the ground, if it's 100 degrees outside, the ground's like 120 on asphalt.
Yeah.
So I got to wait until it's at least dark for a little bit for that asphalt to cool down so I can take her for a little walk.
It's wild, man. I have a friend who lives outside of Phoenix, and there was that period of 20 some days, over 120 there, like unlivable temperatures. It's wild. Hopefully it isn't that hot, the early games at Santa Clara this time around this year. God, we need some shade there. What are you most looking forward to in camp?
In camp, it's just keep watching these guys improve. I'm not watching all the tape. I'm mostly going to Jack's page at the end of the day and reading
Jack's phenomenal.
Just reading what he's come up with, and then usually the next day I'll listen to either Jesse or Larry, while I'm at work, because they let us listen or do whatever we want as long as we're getting our work done. So
that's awesome.
We can't watch, but we can listen. So as long as my phone's upside down, they don't know what I'm doing.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
So yeah, and that's how I'm getting all my news is from Jesse and Larry and you, and just and I watched a little bit of Jack's tape today, showing off of Trey Lance's throws and a little bit of Purdy and stuff, and they're looking good, and that's all we can really hope for right now. And I'm not a preseason guy usually, but I've been missing football the last couple of years. I'm actually watching preseason games and to see what we can expect from the season.
Yes,
and I'm looking forward to game 1 against Pittsburgh, and
that's going to be tougher than it looks, right? Going into Pittsburgh, I have been to that stadium. It's a good fan base. They are a loyal fan base. They will be out there. It will be a tough environment.
Oh, for sure. 100%. It's not going to be an easy game. I don't care that they don't necessarily have the top of the line quarterback or the top of the line defense. They still got players out there.
Yep. And they have a leader of men. I truly believe that if you have someone that's going to get your entire team fired up to go play football, they may not be the best. They may not be able to make it into the playoffs every single year, but they're going to be a tough out, right? They're not going to be a lay down. It's not going to be an easy game. It's going to hurt, especially if you're on the road traveling. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Alan, I'm going to get down to Jonas. I will have these calls more frequently. I look forward to catching up again more, my friend.
For sure. Talk to you next time. Have a good one. All right.
Take care, my friend.
You too.
Later. I love that. Absolutely love that. Troy coming in, Sneakerhead, man, talking about earlier comment was, I got the best outlook on life. Love it, man. I just appreciate you sharing this because it, gives an opportunity to get into that gratitude and realize that, football hasn't even started yet. And the Niners, don't get me wrong, the shit I go through, I'm happy to have the Niners as something positive to look forward to. And I'm not trying to say that what I have to go through is by any means anything tough, right? It's just we all have our own things to go through is more what I mean by that. And Troy, clearly going through something in the hospital, I just want to say that I'm thinking about you, man. I hope that things go well. I hope that you are comfortable and have loved ones and people to talk to. And that's the critical component, right? We all want people to share those moments with. Stivers Niners 209 show. Yes, the link is in the community tab. You can absolutely come on in and get down in the waiting room. I will get to the next caller now. Jonas coming into the stream. How are you doing this Saturday afternoon? How you feeling about the 49ers?
I'm doing well, Rob. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, by the way, Rob, you can go get water if you want.
I appreciate that.
I can't wait. It's okay. I can't wait.
I haven't run out yet. I got a couple.
No, you can do it now. It's all good. It's all good.
If you promise to entertain and keep people going,
Yeah,
I
I
could do
can
that.
keep them. I can keep them. I'll give them my thoughts.
No, that's okay. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So my thoughts on this season. Yeah, first of all, I have to say this, Rob. Let me
Yes.
start with this. And I feel like neither of the first two callers brought this up. Maybe they're just living peacefully away from this and not really haven't noticed it. But man, let me tell you, ever since that NFC Championship game ended, we're talking about 7 months, right? Or actually
Yes.
6 months. Sorry, 6 months, because now we're in August and that was end of January. So it's been a non-stop war, a civil war on 49ers Twitter.
Yeah.
And I
Unfortunate.
just, it's just crazy to me that like this is the kind of stuff you would see, you would usually see in teams that are losing 12 games, 13, 14 games.
Right.
I mean, why are we having this kind of stuff on our team? It's just crazy to me. And by the way, all these fans, most of them, by the way, lived through the era of John, what's his name, Jim Tom Sula.
Yes.
And,
They saw
and
true pain.
exactly. And they think
Chip
that,
Kelly.
yeah, they think you're entitled to a title. Only one team wins. The rest of the teams go home sad.
Thank you. And they're not all losers. They are not all the
Exactly.
same.
Like this binary, like look, this not binary, this like just way of just looking at things that just
I think it is binary. It's all or
yeah.
nothing. It's a
Yeah,
two-part choice.
exactly. That's the word I was going to use initially. Yeah, you're right. So it's just, I just feel like we need to have a bit more perspective. We have a very successful team. Here's the thing. This happened with the Rams too. If you're there every single year, eventually things are gonna break your way. That almost always happens. I mean, it didn't happen for the Bills, but I feel like usually it's gonna break your way eventually
Right.
because a pick that Tart dropped, maybe somebody gets the pick, maybe
Right.
a fumble, you recover it, stuff like that. So I'm not worried as
Small
long as
things.
the team is competitive and gets to the playoffs, because as long as you're in the playoffs, then you're within a fighting chance. So
Absolutely. You are in that dance.
yep. So regarding the quarterbacks, I mean, first of all, I feel, and again, do these people not listen to our coach and our GM? They've been telling us since March. Brock Purdy is the starting quarterback as long as he's healthy.
Right.
What are you guys arguing about? If he plays bad, there's this thing called we'll cross that bridge when we get there. If he plays bad, if he's not healthy enough to play, all of this stuff, we will get there if it happens.
Yeah.
But he is the starter. There's nothing to discuss about it. There is no quarterback competition.
The one thing I will add to what you said, and it was early on, right, is that idea of, wow, this Twitter atmosphere that we've created. I agree. It's untenable. It's unacceptable. I honestly try to stay the heck out of it because it's really unpleasant is what it is. But it's this need to attack one another. And what you said is this shouldn't represent a team unless they're in that 12, 13, 14 loss category of like, hey, now it's understandable why there's so much dissent and disagreement. But it also is interesting with how close we've gotten. That creates a level of stress that's almost akin to being a losing team, that it's so frustrating. People are so close to having that immense joy that many of these fans have never experienced. And a lot of us have not experienced in a long time. And so there's that pent up energy. I think that has something to do with the intensity of it. It doesn't excuse it in my book, but I think that plays into it.
No, you're right. But here's what I think, Rob, and I'm interested to hear what you think about this. So I've been hearing, and the season hasn't happened yet, but I already have my theory of how the season is going to pan out, and I'm going to come back on one of those call-in shows. Let's say in end of October, November. I will be back, and I will remind you of what I'm predicting right now, because I'm predicting that Purdy will play. See, all these people this is my theory. We've been hearing for so many years now with the Niners. Niners don't have a franchise quarterback. You know what I think? Niners have a franchise quarterback. His name is Kyle Shanahan. That is what I believe.
The system is the franchise
Yep.
quarterback?
Hear me out. Hear my theory,
Okay,
and you will
I'm
see
listening.
if the
I'm going to
season
try and
proves it.
turn up my brightness here. You're going to see an empty screen for a little bit, but Rob is still here.
Yeah, all good. So here's my theory.
Yes, give it to me.
Kyle Shanahan, his whole career, as long as he's had a competent quarterback,
Yeah.
he's put up big time numbers, whether it's Matt Schaub, whether it's RG3, whether it's Jimmy G, and now we're seeing, I feel like as long as you are decent, and Matt Schaub to me was a good quarterback.
Yes.
And obviously Matt Ryan, we don't
he
need
had
to
a
discuss
4,000
him.
yard season before
Exactly.
Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, exactly. So here's what I believe. I believe that Brock Purdy meets that threshold of good enough. But I also believe another thing. His skill set, I checked this stat, Rob, and watched during the season. Between 10 and 20 yards, this guy had a completion percentage of above 80%. Next on the list was Deshaun Watson at 68%, and then Tua, I think, was third. So his skill set is literally throwing those passes over the middle of the field between 10 and 20 yards. And by the way, Jimmy was nowhere near 80% his whole career. I don't think he was even to 70%. So his skill set literally fits what the offense runs the best. So what I believe in our team is that as long as Kyle Shanahan is here, our team is going to be good. Whether it's a good offense, we're gonna have a good offense. Whether it's Brock Purdy, whether it's, let's say we had drafted Mac Jones, whether it's Kirk Cousins comes here next year, I don't think he will, because I think this team is now structured around having a cheap quarterback, and there's no reason. The gap is not big enough. We'll see this season. We'll see if Brock Purdy can play this season healthy, regardless of what happens in the postseason. I think he'll be the quarterback next year. But that's what I'm telling you. To me, the quarterback is Kyle Shanahan. And to me, he needs somebody to execute his offense. Matt Ryan, when he executed it, they were unstoppable. I believe this season they will be unstoppable with Brock Purdy. That's my prediction.
I loved that. I agree wholeheartedly with NorCal Air Gunner in summarizing the fact that you were killing it there. Kyle Shanahan as the quarterback. I mean, it absolutely is a system that most competent quarterbacks can excel within. You heard Steve Young talk about it when he was in that interview with Matt Mayoko, which was a phenomenal interview. And he said, this is the place. He told it to Jimmy Garoppolo. He was like, Jimmy, stay there. This is the place you want to be. It's the place that's going to allow you to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And he had the same advice for Trey Lance. And obviously the same would be true for Brock Purdy as well. I do think that Brock fits incredibly well into this system. The idea that he's on the cheapest possible rookie contract is phenomenal. And I do think that barring some unsettling injury situation or a complete regression, they will continue to look at a strategy built around the fact that he is the cheapest starting quarterback and can't get a new contract for another year or two, whatever those rules are. I think after his third year. So, it's absolutely set up for this not to work out well for Trey Lance as a 49er. And that's very unfortunate.
But that's the thing, though, Rob. If Kyle is around, it's so hard for me to see, because here's the thing. I've rewatched every game last year, Rob. Brock Purdy played fine for a rookie, but I genuinely believe that, remember, the offense, everything, none of it was centered around. It was only the end of the season, Rob, when he started actually calling plays that are Brock Purdy's strength. Do you remember all the 20-yard throws in the Seattle game? I mean, and we never saw them with Jimmy G as quarterback. And even in the next game, we saw the line, the defensive line of Dallas stopped our offensive line. They were kind of disruptive. But if you watch the All-22, there was a lot of men wide open that he would have hit. But the D-line obviously won. That you got to give credit to the defense. But I genuinely believe this season, Rob, and remember this, we will have a lot of 20-yard plus passes that we haven't never seen in this offense. This is my prediction, and I genuinely believe it'll happen.
And if we do, that's the unlock for the incredible offense that you're predicting.
Exactly. I mean, you don't need. Here's the thing about this offense.
Yes.
People think that you need a great arm to be in it. No, the West Coast offense was structured around a quarterback who didn't have a great arm.
Yeah, it was structured around footwork.
Yeah, and Brock Purdy has the footwork. He has the intelligent processing. He has the maturity. All of these things, a lot of them are kind of like they can't even be measured. The footwork obviously is the thing that can be measured.
Right.
But I believe he's literally like a glove in a hand for Kyle Shanahan. That's what I believe. And I will remind you of this because this is a prediction I've already made because I can see it already happening.
Yeah.
Because I see his skill set fitting so well. And Kyle Shanahan has had the whole offseason to call all these plays around Brock Purdy and his skill set, which fits the offense to a T. I just wanted to discuss Trey Lance a little bit too, if you had a little bit of time.
Absolutely. Talk to me about Trey Lance. I do want to say that I am with you on the prediction for this year in that I am looking at this one as the year that the Niners do, in fact, have a shot at going all the way. I'm with NorCal Air Gunner here talking about I'm super excited for the record and what we should be able to do.
Oh, so am I.
I think this is it.
I think a lot of people will be unlocked. Now, regarding Trey Lance, I have a few thoughts.
Okay.
I'm really interested. We're going to find out, I think, after this season, when Trey Lance somehow either in the offseason or he's traded during training camp, when he's off the team, we will start hearing the leaks of what panned out during April 2021. Because if you look at the way Purdy is running this offense, Mac is basically a 6'2" or 6'3" version of Purdy, basically. I mean, if you look at what he was doing in Alabama, he was running that offense. He had all-stars around him, like he would have had in San Francisco, just getting the ball out. Great footwork, just like Purdy. That's the style of quarterback Shanahan loves. So how did they then go to Trey Lance? That is what I want to find out. Who okayed that?
It's going to be a great book or 30 for 30. Whenever someone is able to tell the truth and get it confirmed, that will settle a lot of people's minds because honestly, I don't know what happened either. I agree. It doesn't seem to fit the mold. It doesn't seem to fit the way in which he was ever invested in Trey. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I think it's great that he opened himself up to take someone he maybe wasn't.
He almost did that just to be like, hey, look, I can do the opposite of what everybody expects me to do. I almost feel like because there's a bit of hubris with a lot of these people, a lot of these successful people.
Yeah.
That they're kind of like, look, watch this. But then he got Lance in the games and he's like, I mean, even that Seattle game before he got hurt, Rob, he caught 12 runs and I think like 6 passes. That is not showing any kind of confidence in this guy throwing the ball.
It's really not. It's a low level of confidence for sure. I mean, I'm sure if it had been a full game, he would have set up the defense, taken advantage of it. The stats would have come closer to even. But I agree. It shows a lack of confidence to just come out like Colin Kaepernick did against the Bears in his first start and just start slinging it for Harbaugh.
And I don't know if you saw the stats somebody posted today. If you look at the 3 quarterbacks, even if you want to add Allen, the three non-Lance quarterbacks have all above 2,000 reps as a quarterback since high school. Lance has 425. Like the whole thing doesn't make any sense. I still don't understand. Like it's like Lance probably belonged at, let's say, Atlanta in 2021. That's the team that's rebuilding. They would have gone through the growing pains with him, and that's fine. But San Francisco, a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl, they need a quarterback who's more, we needed a quarterback that's more like, let's say, ready to take over a team, ready to, do everything that's needed. I do hope he pans out somewhere. I don't think it's going to be San Francisco at this point because they seem completely done with him. I'm sorry. That's just the way I see it.
No, I think you're absolutely right. There are very few scenarios. There are a couple, but very few scenarios that would play out with Trey Lance being the starter for San Francisco going forward. It just seems to be working out that way. And it's not because of anything Trey did. It's just poor circumstances, bad luck, that small sample size I was talking about, 1 or 2 small injuries at the wrong time in the NFL. it was tight enough for him to begin with coming into San Francisco. A lot of people called it the best scenario to be in. To your point of a quarterback who hasn't had enough reps coming in, it may have been a worse scenario instead of someone that would have rode with the bumps and bruises along the way. Yeah, I agree. It's worked out, unfortunately. And I agree that I think he has success probably somewhere else. Jonas, I got to get down to Bullpup so that I can get to the rest.
Thank you.
No, absolute pleasure talking with you. Did you have a final piece you wanted to add on there?
Yeah, just one final thing.
Hit me.
I think, and this is just a prediction of mine, and I'll remind you of this. This will probably we'll have to wait until the next end of the season. I think we're going to have 4 guys with 10 plus touchdowns this season.
Whoa.
Yes.
If you get that right, I'm going to be impressed. Please make sure you're back to celebrate.
By the way, that can include a running back too. I'm just saying 4 guys on the team, period. Right. Yeah. So it could be
that's
McCaffrey.
High. I like it. Yeah. I love it.
Just wait. It's going to be an explosion. You wait and see. A lot of people will be eating crow. Trust me. Hey. A lot of people who are fighting now will then be like, oh, yeah, team is winning. Because that's the thing about fans. We're fickle. As long as the team is winning. Yeah. Thank you for having
They'll be back. Good to talk to you, Jonas. Take care. All right, we are bringing in Bullpup to the stream. Apologies for my background. I haven't had time to set up the little blocker that cuts out some of the light. We are just going to deal with it here. Bullpup is coming in to talk Niners. How are you doing?
Rob, how are you?
I am good. Still delirious. Oh, someone asked about the tattoo. It is a figure of a lady on there that's down on my lower calf, on the back of it that I can't lift up without kicking over my entire setup. But it is wonderful, and the tattoo artist did a fantastic job. Thank you to everyone who has asked. Sorry for cutting you off there with that update, but Bullpup, what are you feeling about preseason? Optimistic? You frustrated with anything? Where are you at for the Niners?
This is going to sound kind of strange, but as far as the team itself, I'm actually, it's a little early in the season for me. I want to see the training camp battles develop. Once we get that first preseason game, get some actual cleat time, then, I'll be fired up and I'll have a better idea. What I don't like so far, and here comes the negative, is our fan/content creator coverage this year so far.
Okay.
You can be pro someone without being anti someone.
Yes, that is very, very true. I feel that way myself.
There's some content creators that are simping for Trey, and that's fine. You can do that. You're definitely entitled to. I mean, the kid's a good kid. I have nothing against Trey. I want Trey to succeed.
I want him to be wildly successful, and I'd be fine if it was with the 49ers.
Of course, but it's there's some reality needs to sit in every once in a while, right?
Sure.
You can't dismiss what Brock did. You can't.
Right. Why wouldn't?
And to just label him as like, oh, he didn't do anything special, or he doesn't have a strong arm, so still running those weak narratives.
Yeah.
And then simping for Trey. That I don't like.
I think if you've got legitimate critiques and you favor one quarterback above the other, I'm okay with it. I agree. If it's regardless of whom you're supporting and whom you are trying to belittle, if you are in fact really enthusiastic for one and not giving the other proper credit, that feels like bias. And I think that's just the world that we live in, is people want to be biased about this. They want to take a side and they almost relish it. It's honestly what bugs me the most about the Twitter app. And you see that carrying over into discussions on YouTube.
Yes, it's I'm a little disappointed. I mean, for some people benefit from all that commotion and they think they're getting clicks and they live off of clicks. I'm not saying it's clickbait, but sometimes I think it's manufactured.
Yeah,
a little bit.
For sure. When I watch a lot of the emotion that comes through on some of those clips from various content creators, it doesn't always strike me as 100% genuine. And, I mean, hell, I am on camera for hours on end, at least, when I was doing it very regularly and certainly there were moments on live feeds where I may have said something that wasn't completely genuine or was an exaggerated opinion. It happens. And sometimes those words just stumble out. I try to walk it back when I do it, at least if I do it consciously. But yeah, there are a lot of people that play that up, and you find that to be just frustrating, that it's heightening tensions when we should all be looking forward to what may be one of the greatest seasons that the Niners have ever had.
I agree 100%. And that's why I subscribe to Rob Schuh.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, definitely looking forward to, as usual, I want to see the young players, how they develop. I want to see how Brock comes into his official rookie season, because as a starter, right? Last year he only played a few games. He didn't play the full season. Came off the bench, and that's another thing people got to remember. Brock came off the bench, literally came off the bench, cold, and played lights out. I mean, that is not easy to do against good quality teams.
I mean, I listened to Steve Young talk about Brock Purdy, and he says, he's got the force in a way that he compares him to Luke Skywalker. And he says, when a guy's got it, you can't always describe why, but you can see it, you can sense it. And I've got to say, that's the way that I've felt about it. It's more illogical for me to feel that way. But Steve Young, I think he's watched enough tape for him to say it. So yeah, you don't always have to have the intangibles. It's nice if you do, if you're that guy and you have the intangibles, but pocket presence, leadership, those things matter.
Absolutely. And, let's face it, the history of the NFL is littered with quarterbacks. We had a ton of physical abilities, but just couldn't they couldn't take that next step and never become anything.
Sure. And
that's actually the norm.
Circumstances and some, right, just don't have the it factor.
Yeah.
It's rare you get both. It's rare you get your Patrick Mahomes, where it is the amazing physical gifts that if he were a baseball pitcher, he'd be next level there too. He's just a freak of nature, and he's got everything up here where he's processing at a rate that's just absurd. You watch him keep his eyes downfield, constantly making that extra play that no one else could do. That's 1 in a billion, right? To find a guy like that. More often, you're going to get one or the other, the physical skill sets, but maybe a little deficient in processing or pocket awareness. And then you're going to have the guy who can play within the pocket, but doesn't have the physical gifts.
Yep. So I really want to see how Brock does.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. I think we're going to have a good season. Really counting on the development of the secondary now that we have a different D coordinator.
Yeah.
Whose specialty is the secondary. I really want to see how that comes along, especially with Jair Brown. Supposedly is killing it in camp. We'll see. He strikes me like a dog.
Yes.
So
I can't wait to see actual tape of him.
We know it's going to be fun. What I said last time is still true. I mean, we can pretend all we want, but we know there's going to be an injury to our quarterback at some point, whether it be a tweak, something minor, it's game time decision,
Sure. It happens to most teams, most seasons, that a quarterback will miss a game.
Right. So, I mean, look at the freak accident that he suffered for the NFC Championship.
Sure.
So stuff like that happens. So Trey will get a chance. He will get another chance. He will. The onus is on him to take that opportunity.
Right.
And
for sure. And I'm sure that is top of mind for him.
Yeah. And when something doesn't go right with let's say you're developing a talent at work or at a team, it's easy to just blame the coaches, point the finger at them the whole time. At some point, there is the onus upon you to better yourself. regardless of what they're doing, what the coaches are doing.
I would agree. I would agree with that we all have the responsibility to look out for ourselves, regardless of the circumstances we're thrust into. I do think when you're breaking it down, it's not about blame. It's about accurately taking into account factors that contributed to an outcome. If you're looking for a complete picture, right?
Sure.
But I agree that every one of us has to take ownership for ourselves in whatever results we're shooting for.
Yeah, and obviously this is ancient history. We can't turn the clock, but if I would have been Trey, I wouldn't have came out because you're not getting the bag like you used to. And back in the day, you got rookie contracts now. It's not like get out to get the bag. I would have stayed in school one more year, possibly even try to go up to D1.
I think he could have gone one the next year. That was the value I saw in drafting him, was that if he had stayed, he probably would have been the number 1 overall pick if he had one more season like the one he had the year prior. Unfortunately, yeah, you can't change history. Hey, Bullpup, I'm going to get down because I have a date that I've got to get to, and I already pushed that back because I pushed this back because the tattoo ran long. So we are definitely going to do another call, and you and I will pick up this conversation then. Any closing shots for you, my friend?
No, that's it. Just glad it's that time of the year again, and you go take care of yourself.
Hey, appreciate it. I will see you all again soon. See you again soon, Bullpup. All right, we are bringing in Lester from San Jose. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I didn't know if I would make it. Does it sound like you're a closing shop?
Yes, no, I am definitely getting to you, definitely getting to Elvis as well.
All right, cool. Like you, I've since the NFC Championship game, I pretty much tuned out of football just because there's just a lot of narratives the media has been trying to spin. So I'm just trying to pay attention to none of that.
Yes.
I just need to know who signed who, where is who going, and then what I do with my longtime friend who lives in Sebastopol, we say, wait until week 7, 8, especially 17 game. I'm just going to wait till week 9 or 10 to really make an opinion about something. Especially when Steve Young, talking about his interviews,
right.
over in week, even if it's the regular season, like he'll say, oh, we're still in preseason. Because especially now with the 3 game, right? It's just 3 games.
Right.
And then a lot of people are sitting out, and people wonder why the product on the field is what it is, right?
It's garbage, and they're still charging fans full price for tickets.
Yeah. But going back to Shanahan, the quarterback position.
Yeah.
So there have been podcasts I don't know what's going on with Eric Davis. I know he had a podcast with, I think it's Believe. I don't know if he's still on that. They haven't pushed anything new since. I hope it's because it's not the season yet. But him, I listened to Stink stuff, or Mark Schlereth.
He's got great takes, man. Mark Schlereth is on top of it.
Steve Young interview. So the main thing I get from Stink is because he's so close to the Shanahan family.
Right. His time in Denver.
It is. There's a way to run that offense that it's very structured. And listening to other content providers, mainly John Middlecoff, makes the observation, Kyle's a little old school.
Yeah.
Probably more old school, probably the most old school of the new age coaches, anybody under 50, I guess.
Absolutely. For as inventive as he is very old school in some respects.
And I know people were talking about, well, why take Trey? There's a half-truth somewhere where he made the observation that there's a potential of 11 on 11 because the quarterback component.
Right.
And especially when he was a little defensive with handling Trey's running. And it goes back to Stink. Stink talks about, one thing he observes with Kyle Shanahan, he says, this play is going to suck. This is going to only get you 1 yard or 2. It's not going to get you, it's going to set up a bigger play in the sequence. And so
that's right.
I get why people are concerned about, Trey running all the time. We're not in the offensive meetings. Too many. Well, I would also say that there's a collective bargaining, going to Troy's point, the collective bargaining, that there aren't that many practices.
Right.
The other interview point.
That's very true.
The other interview point is Joe Staley. He said this on the Papa and Lund radio show podcast. He said Kyle's system is not quarterback centric. And so that means you can hypothetically plug someone in there and go into Eric Davis. He always makes a point about jobs aren't won and lost. Opportunities are given and taken. And so with Trey, now you talked about his circumstances, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think they have unfolded poorly.
Right. And so it's not Trey's fault, nor is it Brock's fault, nor is it Kyle Shanahan's fault. He going back to the old school mentality, his job is to win games. And that kind of hurts someone's development because you don't have time. And that's why he kind of has a little bit of I don't know if it's a mistrust of rookies, but the opportunity is given to you. You got to show it in practice. And Ayuk, that situation with him and Ayuk, where he was kind of in that doghouse. It's like you have a certain standard, and that's what reading that Bill Walsh book that came out. I don't know when, but it was like a new book. The score takes care of itself. He talked about the standard of performance.
Yeah.
Whether we're talking practice or live game.
Right. What was tolerated as far as the lowest performance tolerated in a practice. They set the bar high.
Yes. And so that whole dynamic works against Trey because I don't know. I can't speak to his work ethic. I'm sure he's a hard worker. Probably works harder.
It comes across that he absolutely is. Yeah.
But there's something to be said that, like that it factor, you just pick it up and it becomes instinctive. That's the other thing that Middlecoff observed, that Lance isn't. I don't know if it's because he doesn't have the time in the system, but as a runner, he doesn't seem like he has that instinct.
Well, yeah, I still might label him as like waiting for the game to slow down a little bit when it comes to running. He's not being as decisive as you'd like to see. That he may in fact be faster than we believe he is right now because he's just not being super decisive with those runs. And I think it is all about the reps, right? It's not just the reps in this system. It's reps in college. And it's just, again, unfortunate that the circumstances have worked out for him not to get those reps.
And I do want to point out, and I think people like to say, oh, the Niners gave up 3 picks. No, they just exchanged picks with Miami. It's like, we'll give you our 12. We'll get your 3. So an exchange of the first round picks. And so essentially 2 first rounders.
Yeah, they just used that third one.
Yeah. And I understand people think that's a high price, but a lot of people will say, well, why did they do that? Well, it's because they want to be in a position like, hey, we're going to look for a guy. We're going to look for a guy, and we're going to see everyone out there and make sure that we're in a position to land our guy of the future.
Right.
And it's just no different than an employer. Now, the employer may not, I don't know what they have to entice someone to join the organization. But there are all these other things that even as job seekers, they look for whatever the employer can afford them.
Oh, absolutely.
Benefits, health insurance, whatever perks, amenities. So it's like you're gambling on the potential. And Trey has all that potential.
If we had hit on Trey and the circumstances had provided him the opportunity and he had seized it, we wouldn't have quibbled about the value, right? It was a long shot, so to speak, and we had to pay up in order to take it. I don't regret it. I think you got to take big swings sometimes.
And especially with the way, I don't know if it's deliberate, but based on, and I was tuning into your chat with Randon last night with the 2 beards. Was it last night or the night before?
Last night was between two beers. Friday night
so,
special.
So it was trying to think of what I was going to say about that. What was I going to critique on that? Well, David Lombardi. I don't think David Lombardi has a bias one way or the other. He may spin into the statistics a little much for my own taste, but I think it's something to be said that that he just looks at it from a performance standpoint. And
I think he has a little bit of bias in like a bias towards hyping up whomever is going to be starting for the Niners. And he firmly believes that the Niners have been clear about that being Brock Purdy from the outset of when the injury transpired.
Right.
And so when he says those things, I think there's a little bias towards the team in like, you know, hey, he comes across as a bit of a Niners fan, as I want my beat reporters to.
Right.
But to me, I don't see the bias that Randon does.
Yeah, I just don't see. I just think it's just a matter of like, hey, here's Trey. He's got all this potential, but then no one expected for Brock Purdy to emerge the way he did, because we're not in the practices. We're not in the.
No.
Well, just because he likes going back to the analytics bet. That's what I was talking about. That he gets a little bit more into Pro Football Focus, and trust me, listening to both Stink and Eric Davis, they go, stats lie.
Yeah. Well, I think in this one, I feel like a lot of people will get defensive when they feel like fans are underestimating a player, and they'll begin to underscore not that they're world class, but that they belong in the conversation of good when fans want to call them trash. I think that's what David Lombardi gets caught up in, is wanting to be right instead of allowing some fans to be unreasonable.
I get it, and sometimes I can kind of see that there are some sources like, okay, that's cool, you know, and I understand that you want to bring in some metrics, and trust me, being in certain industries throughout my working career, like metrics was everything, and I go, there's a time and a place for metrics, you know, like I just want to see things play out, and that's just me. I just want to see how it plays out, because I'm sure everybody's going to say something about a player or two game by game, or even say something about the team. Like I don't know why, but I pick on the Cardinals because they're the most recent case study.
Sure.
And look, everyone's talking about, oh my God, they're gonna run roughshod over the NFC West, and next thing you know, they lose however many games straight. So it's like, especially with the more, I agree with that comment.
You want Mason to be the switch up?
Well, find a way to work however many backs they want to keep on the roster. Because anybody can go down, and it's not like you're going to put them in bubble wrap, but it's just, you know, fatigue is a thing. And
I'm with you.
I like the idea that, again, it goes back to this notion that Kyle's system is not quarterback dependent, and it doesn't intend to be. It just takes a quarterback that can pull the trigger. Now with Lance, like I said, you invite that dimension of the run.
Absolutely.
And not every defense, or I should say, as Eric Davis says, every running quarterback provides a problem. And it's that harmony. And Steve Young was the only one that I could see, and maybe Mahomes to a stretch, because with Mahomes, I didn't follow Mahomes. I don't know if you did, but I don't know what his reputation was. I think it was a gunslinger. I don't think he had the reputation of, like everybody else, like Lamar had and Josh Allen had. About
it was definitely gunslinger.
Not so much a runner, right? But everyone talks
air raid offense.
Everyone talks about, well, they're going to play to his strengths. So he's a runner. He's a scrambler. Well, history kind of shows that only lasts so long, which is, I'm interested in also seeing what's going on with the Ravens, because I know they just switched up their coordinators, and I don't know what they have intended for Lamar, because it looks like he's making some progress. It's not that people think that if you improve your passing, then you're just playing into whatever narrative they want to say about, winning from the pocket. Because I think at the end of the day, you have to win from the pocket.
You do, especially in Kyle Shanahan's system. There's no doubt about it. Lester, I hate to cut you short, but I got to get down to Elvis because I got to get to my date.
No.
We will pick this conversation up next time I have the call-in show.
All
Fantastic
right,
to see you.
Hey, you too. All right, bye-bye.
Hey, take care. All right, we are bringing Elvis in to close it out. Elvis, welcome to the program. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you too, Rob.
Oh, man.
Man, it's been way too long.
Yes, it has. Yes, it has. I see you got a little one there with you. Who's that? Who's
this one? Now, the story behind this little one, she's been dying to get on because remember I had my youngest one on last time? Yeah. She's like, well, that's like last year. Like, I think it was the 3rd week of the season. And like, she's like, oh, dude, I'm going to say hello to Rob. I was like, yeah, when I get a chance, because usually you do during time I'm at work, so I can't stream and do nothing. Right. So when I caught the show on today, I was like, this is our chance.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Say hello.
It's an absolute pleasure to meet you. I'm glad that you were able to make it on the program. Your dad is an absolute fan favorite. And so it's a wonder to have you on the screen.
Yeah. What time is it there now, Rob?
It is 7:35 right now. Oh, we got 2.
Yeah. Remember Zala from the last one? Yeah. She goes, you remember me?
Yes, I most definitely do.
Where's Mom, Dad?
I don't know.
Dad, I don't remember where Mom is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like 12:30 Sunday afternoon here.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you guys are just one day ahead. I had a Delta advertisement come at me trying to get me to go to Australia, and I tried to look at tickets. They were not cheap to go there, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, man. Flying anywhere, I think, around the world, it's expensive.
So expensive right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, hopefully normality will come back and, like, the prices will drop back down. So people can travel more often than what they are now.
Absolutely. I want to travel again. I want to go to some Niner games this season, and right now I'm only planning maybe 1 or 2. I'm going to try to hit one with Randon, and then maybe one for New Year's in Washington, D.C. Chris Royal coming in here, Sneakerhead here on the channel. Will I see you in Salem? Yes, you should. I'm going to try and make it out there. Can't commit wholeheartedly yet, but absolutely want to try and make it to the Salem Faithful meetup.
Man, that's going to be awesome.
Yes, very cool. I love hanging out with fellow 49er fans because we get to talk football like we do right here. What are the girls most excited about this season? Who's their favorite player? Who do they want to have a real good season?
Who you want to see have a good season?
I'm not sure.
Let's just say the whole team.
I like that. I like the entire team having a good season. That would be phenomenal. I think we will.
Yeah, I think we will. Like, I'm happy to see Brock back. You know what I mean, throwing. You know what I mean. I hope he doesn't go too hard. I don't want him to re-injure his shoulder.
No.
But his elbow. But at the same time, you know what I mean. Yeah, our schedule's a little bit harder, I think. I mean, even like our first game at Pittsburgh. Yes. You know what I mean, that won't be no easy game.
Nope.
You know, so yeah, looking forward to this season. Got our hopes up, so we'll make it in the playoffs, obviously.
Yeah.
From then onwards, you know what I mean? Yeah. Hopefully we make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, me too. I think even those games that look easy against Arizona or the Rams or Pittsburgh, they're going to be tough. And so this is a really challenging schedule. And yet I'm optimistic that the Niners could find themselves in that 13-4 sort of range at the end of the year, putting themselves in contention for that number 1 seed, which is so critical to just have those 2 games to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. Well, look, me, I'm a little bit lower. Like, I'm hoping. I think it'll be 10 games, nothing less, that they'll win. Like, I think 10 and up. But like, you know what I mean. I'm just slowly reserved. You know what I mean. I don't want to. I want them to obviously reach a bigger number of the games. Obviously, the same with you, get the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
But I'm just happy to make it as long as we make it in the playoffs. But like kind of like last year, on a roll, you know what I mean? Clicking on all cylinders, you know what I mean? And everyone playing as a good unit, everyone, all 3 phases. So, yeah, it'll be good.
Absolutely. I mean, if we have the same type of roster as we did last season, so long as we filled in the needed depth, and there are only a couple of real question marks for me going into the season, but if we met those needs, it's hard to imagine this roster, this team not having a good year, being competitive, being in it. To your point, if we make the playoffs, you absolutely have a shot. To the question of, am I going to any home games? If we make it to the playoffs, I will visit Levi's. I'm a much bigger fan of Levi's once we get into the cold months, once we have nighttime games. Levi's is a great stadium for a night game. September day game, October, those are potentially rough. I sat on the wrong side at a Cowboys game where we got shellacked, and it was hot, man. Yeah, I was cooking.
Very hot, huh?
It was. That stadium is no joke. So who do you think has a bigger year this year? Let me ask what more generic. Do you think it's going to be more offense or more defense that propels the Niners? Is it going to be a special defensive unit like we saw last year? Or to the prediction we had earlier, does this offense become something really elite?
Defense, 100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, with Hargraves, the extra addition of Hargraves, oh my gosh.
That is so phenomenal.
Wow, phenomenal. I was just like, and we needed another one to back up Armstead, you know what I mean? Like consistently, and someone that, always disrupts, the middle. So, man, him and Armstead, wow, I can't wait to see this. Yes. I'm just so excited. So excited to see our defensive line. And I'm keen to see, is it Colin Farrell, the one from the Raiders?
Clelin Ferrell from the Raiders, yep.
Yeah, I'm interested in see how he goes. Like we all know, it's the one man that could bring his talents out, Caceres, 100%.
Yeah, and Drake London, right? He's had a physical transformation.
Yes, his transformation. Wow, like man, he put on a lot of beef.
Right.
So I was like, oh wow, it looks good.
Yes. I truly think that this could be the year we see both. I'm with you that it's much more of a certainty when it comes to the defense. I do believe that the offense could find the unlock this year. I think that you have the depth that if something were to happen to Brock, I have faith in Trey. If something were to happen again, I have faith in what Sam Darnold could do. They've built that roster to withstand a lot. It just feels like we are set up for this year.
Yeah.
Elvis, I wish we could keep on going. I have a date that I need to get to, but any closing thoughts, man? Anything that, hey, you're really looking forward to this season? Any big predictions?
No, well, I'm just really hoping our offense really clicks from the get-go. Like, I really don't want us to have a slow start like we usually always do.
Yes,
but like,
we do.
I want to just like start firing, like put the whole NFL on notice, like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Not to miss the ones.
I love it. And hey, maybe that's why Brock felt he needed to be back at this point, is so he can knock off that rust, and isn't doing that in weeks 1 through 4, so that we can actually come out hot out of the gate. Let's go beat Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go beat Pittsburgh.
Right on. Elvis, a pleasure to see you, man. Always a pleasure talking with you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, Paul, it's a pleasure. Rob, I look forward to seeing you and chopping it up again.
Most definitely.
Two beats, but yeah, you take care. Yeah, have fun at your day.
We'll make that happen. Take care, Elvis. All right, that was a fantastic show. Appreciate everyone who called in, everyone who was in the chat. I agree. If you can and you want to become a member, come in and talk to me. I love it. Absolutely love it. It brightens my day, even when I'm delirious after getting a tattoo and coming in harebrained and just barely getting the camera going. Thank you for bearing with me today, and we will make this happen again soon. And I'll be back on with Between Two Beards with Random McMahon later on this week. Until then, you know the drill. Cheers, faithful.